Hi there Waltineers, I'm Jack and this is DSNY Newscast, and out of all the projects that are currently under construction at the Disney parks around the world at the moment, and believe me, there's a lot going on, there is one project in particular that to me personally is at the top of the list, and that is the Lion King themed boat ride in the Lion King themed land that's going to be coming to Disneyland Paris. And the reason why personally for me it's at the top of the list is because probably much like many of you, I grew up as a Disney 90s kid, and I grew up with the animated version of The Lion King from 1994. And so to finally see that version of The Lion King come to the Disney parks as a ride-through attraction, to be honest with you, it was something which I didn't think we'd see, as after all, it had been 30 years of never getting a ride-through attraction for Lion King, and then all of a sudden, 3 decades later, we've got the announcement that they're making a Lion King ride-through attraction, and on top of that, it's going to be a boat ride. So I'm very interested to see how this all develops. And speaking of which, let's dive into this topic in greater depth today, as we've got all new details, and we've also got the entire track layout for this boat ride attraction. But before we do, I want to say a special thank you to DLP Report over on Twitter or X, whichever one you want to call it. I'll put links down below to DLP Report in the description below, but they did a fantastic job of taking the publicly available construction permits from City Hall and scanning them in and publishing them all so we can all see them today in this video. So a special thanks to DLP Report for doing all that great work. But now, with that being said, let's look at these construction permits. As we can see, they're very detailed and they show us the entirety of the land, and the project name for this whole area is going to be Project Sun, or as we can see in the permit, it's referred to as Land Sun. So it's obviously referencing, you know, the opening shot of the Lion King with the sun coming up over the horizon and how that plays a major part in the beginning of the movie. And in these construction permits, we can see the entirety of this show building, and we can see the various pathways to how the guests will approach the show building and the entrance to this attraction. And we can also see included as part of the whole package of documents, they had new digital renderings of the land that you can see here that don't include every aspect of the detailed theming and placemaking that you'll end up seeing as part of the Lion King themed land, as what these are more used for are architectural references as part of the permit applications, but they still give us a great look at the entire land from kind of the guest view perspective at, you know, eye level. As we can see in this digital rendering here, we can see Pride Rock off in the distance there, but that thatched roof structure there that you can see is supposedly going to be the entrance to the Lion King themed attraction. Then in the next rendering that we can see here, this will be the exit to the attraction, as well as you'll be exiting through the gift shop, as it wouldn't be a Disney ride without exiting through the gift shop after all. So, you know, you'll be exiting through the gift shop and out through that kind of cave area there. That'll be the exit to the Lion King attraction. Then we can also see other renderings from where you are stood looking into the land from the Adventure Bay area, and you can see Pride Rock towering over the rest of the land in the distance. Now, back in July, I had the privilege of being able to attend Walt Disney Imagineering headquarters, and at the time they showed us around the model shop and I got to see the Lion King model for myself, and it's the 1/25th scale model that they showcased in the annual shareholders meeting back in March of this year. And being able to see the size of this land and how it's scaled using forced perspective to make Pride Rock look larger than it probably will be is extremely impressive. And because there wasn't any glass barrier there, I got down to the eye level of what the guests will see when they're walking into this land. And I've got to say right now that I've got very high expectations for what this is going to end up being. I think this is going to be Pandora level kind of wow factor when you walk into this Lion King themed land and you see Pride Rock towering over the rest of the land there. It's just going to be extremely impressive. Now, there's a lot of details that we've managed to pull out of these construction permits, and so I want to go through some of them. Now, Disneyland Paris have already stated on their website that the attraction itself will be one of the biggest at Disneyland Paris. And when I did a video on this back in February of this year, I said that this attraction show building was going to probably be the biggest one at Disneyland Paris. So it's nice to see that somewhat confirmed there. And it's very true, as we've now got the actual size of the show building that they're building here, and it's 148,000 square feet. And, you know, that sounds like a large number, but to put that into context for you here, when you measure Pirates of the Caribbean in Paris on Google Earth, that is approximately around 101,000 square feet. And so this is almost going to be 1/3 of the size bigger than Pirates of the Caribbean at Disneyland Paris. And that show building kind of goes across 2 different buildings, and it's a very long attraction. So that's the kind of scale that they're going for with this Lion King boat ride attraction here. And the land itself, when you kind of map it out on Google Earth as well, and this is just a very approximate estimation of the size of the land, but it'll probably be around 6 acres, I would say, for the entirety of the land, including backstage space. Now, within these permits, we've also got the track layout, and within the track layout, it kind of falls across multiple levels of the building. But the big number to take away from this is that there are 19 scenes within the Lion King attraction, and there's going to be 2 smaller drops and then 1 massive drop, which is going to be the large drop that you can see in the model, you know, the one that looks like Tiana's Bayou Adventure or Splash Mountain. And speaking of that, there is level 0, which is the ground floor, and then there's level 1, 2 and 4 to this attraction show building. And then as we can see in this side view of the show building here, and these architectural renderings here, the highest point of the attraction show building will be the top of Pride Rock, and that will be 37 meters tall, or 121 feet tall, which is actually just taller than that of the North Mountain within World of Frozen, as that stands at 36 meters tall, and obviously Pride Rock will be at 37 meters tall. But the tallest point of the actual show building for the Lion King attraction itself is 23 meters tall. And we do actually have the main drop height here, and it's exactly the same as Tiana's Bayou Adventure, or what was known as Splash Mountain. It's a 16-meter drop, or 52 feet drop, plunged down below into the Pride lands of, you know, Pride Rock in that area. And so that is the level of thrill that you can expect from this attraction. And despite this sharing the same drop height as Tiana's Bayou Adventure or Splash Mountain, this is actually going to be a much larger attraction show building, and it also has a completely original track layout. But also, the configuration for the log flume boat at Tiana's at Walt Disney World is 8 guests in each log flume. So it's, you know, 4 rows of 2 guests per row. But the one for the Lion King is actually going to be 12 people per boat, and it's going to be 4 rows of 3 people across. So it's going to be a higher capacity than that of Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and it's a much larger show building as well. Now, previously I had mentioned in February that I wondered about the climate of Disneyland Paris. Obviously, it can get very cold in the winter, it can snow, and I'm guessing they'll have to turn down a lot of the extra water features around the splashdown zone for this attraction during the winter period. And also, I'd probably expect the final indoor element of the attraction to have some sort of heated element, I reckon, to kind of, you know, try and dry off the guests as they're going back inside the attraction show building. Now, as promised, let's dive into this track layout, as I've taken the permit and I've kind of tried to simplify it and make it easier to follow along here. And we've got the scene progression and the elevation changes. Now, the first thing you'll see here is that it's a double load unload situation for the loading area and unloading area for this attraction. And you'll be coming straight out of there into scene 3 within the attraction show building, and this will begin scene 3, and it will be the beginning of the lift hill from ground floor level 0 to level 2, and that will be scene 3. Then you're on level 2, and you've got scene 4, scene 5 and scene 6, which all take place on level 2. Then scene 7 is the drop. There's a small drop that goes from level 2 to level 1, and then from there, when you're on level 1, this is where a major element of the attraction is, where you've got scene 8, scene 9, scene 10 and scene 11 all taking place within level 1 within the attraction show building, and then scene 12 will drop from level 1 to level 0, or the ground floor. And then when on the ground floor, you'll turn that corner and you'll see scene 13, scene 14, and then scene 15 will begin at the ground floor, level 0, and it will do a lift hill from level 0 all the way up to level 4. So that will be scene 15. Now, there's no mention of a scene 16 or scene 17 in the construction permit here. I'm accrediting scene 16 and 17 to the main drop within the attraction, the outdoor segment there. It's not mentioned, but I think that's what they're alluding to, the outdoor segment being those two scenes there. And then, as you re-enter the attraction show building once again, you come across scene 18, which is this very large scene here, and then you turn the corner and there's one final scene, which is scene 19, before you turn the corner back into the loading and unloading area. And so that's the elevation changes within the attraction. That's what we can expect here. Now, there's a couple of other notes which I want to make here, which are, you can see there's highlighted extra elements within each one of the show spaces, and these aren't described as screens, but I reckon that they are clearly background themed elements within the attraction. So there's a lot of them within the attraction, and as you can see, they kind of carefully overlap each other, so therefore they kind of envelop the guest view as you travel through the attraction. But they're additional partition walls put into the actual construction permit. They could be highly detailed theming, they could be screens, they could be, you know, like they said, a mix of different special effects. Who knows? We don't have that information at the time of recording, obviously, but it's still very interesting to see just how many of these different elements there are within the actual attraction show building itself as well. We don't know what's going to be within each one of the scenes, but I think if we look at the song progression from The Lion King, the 1994 version, that might give us a good indicator of what each one of these scenes might be, because clearly they're going to be building around the music from The Lion King, and they won't be including every single major story beat, as is often the case with these kind of book report style attractions where they retell the story of the movie in the attraction. They don't include every single, you know, major story beat for the attraction. They kind of show the overarching story beats to kind of take you on that journey, and they'll probably be using the music as a skeleton structure for the attraction. There's the obvious songs, which are Circle of Life, Just Can't Wait to Be King, Be Prepared, Hakuna Matata, Can You Feel the Love Tonight? But there's also some instrumental music which is very key to the movie, like To Die For, which is the instrumental music that plays when Mufasa dies in the canyon, you know, with the stampede. You've got Under the Stars, which plays with the important moment between Simba talking to Mufasa in the stars. You've got King of Pride Rock, which is the main kind of reprieve of Circle of Life at the end of the movie, and it kind of builds up to that. And so I'm highlighting all of these tracks because I think that this will be the kind of skeleton structure for the attraction itself. So bear that in mind for the attraction. I don't think we'll see every single aspect from the movie within the attraction. I think they'll have to, you know, take you from one area to the other pretty quickly. And even with 19 scenes, many of those scenes will be kind of the same scene, but just different elements of that same montage, if that kind of makes sense. Now, other notes I want to make here are scene 3 and scene 4 do blend together. So as you reach the top of scene 3, it does seamlessly blend into scene 4. If I was to make a guess at what that scene could be, I feel like there's two ways that this attraction could start. One being that they use the lift hill to do the big beginning sequence of Circle of Life, as that would make a lot of sense with the lift hill, and then that would mean that you'd have scene 3 and scene 4 be Circle of Life and scene 5 be Just Can't Wait to Be King. But I also think it's very likely that they're going to close the attraction with a big Circle of Life scene like they do in the movie. And so if that's the case, they might want to use the lift hill of scene 3 and scene 4 to depict Just Can't Wait to Be King and get the whole attraction off to a high energy start. And then that way, scene 5 could be the Under the Stars scene with Mufasa and Simba. But no matter what they do with scene 3, 4 and 5, scene 6 I think is likely to be the Be Prepared scene with Scar and the hyenas, as then it goes into scene 7, which is the first drop of the attraction. And that drop scene could be a way to quickly cover the death of Mufasa with a stampede in the canyon. Then scene 8, 9, 10 and 11 all blend together on level 1. And so I reckon this is depicting one entire song or one entire montage area of the attraction. And if I'm just guessing by the shape of the track there, I think that this will likely be the Hakuna Matata segment. And it could also seamlessly blend with Can You Feel the Love Tonight, as those two scenes within the movie are very close together. So that could be scene 8, scene 9, 10 and 11 before scene 12 with the drop. And then scene 13 and 14 are within the same show space. They're not broken up by any sort of walls there. So they will seamlessly blend together and then into scene 15. And based on the story progression, this part of the attraction, I feel, would have to depict the moment where Simba is talking with Mufasa in the stars before then realising that he has to go home. And that would lead directly into the main lift hill, which obviously all this is speculation here, but I feel like this could succinctly cover the battle for Pride Rock, with the projections maybe on the walls of the lift hill showing Scar and Simba fighting it out either side as you go up the main lift hill before you get to the main drop on the other side. Now, scene 18, when you come back inside the show building, is the largest show space within the entire attraction. And it also kind of has this themed element that kind of wraps around the entirety of the track. And I think that this could be the big crescendo moment and a final circle of life moment within the actual attraction itself. And the scene 19 that occurs just on the corner before unload or disembark, whichever one you want to call it, I think will be similar to the Mama Odie scene at the end of Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And I think this might be Rafiki kind of ending the attraction, saying that's the story of the Lion King, in the same kind of way as Mama Odie, because Disney do like to do that to kind of end attractions and wrap up the story in that way. And I think a great way of kind of making this whole retelling of the Lion King make sense narratively could be to use Rafiki within the attraction to tell us the story of the Lion King. So have him be the beginning of the attraction and have him be the close, the end of the attraction as well, bookending each end of the attraction. As we know, there's going to be audio animatronic figures in this attraction. We know most likely all of the characters from the Lion King are going to be featured in there. I've also got high hopes that Scar will be within this attraction, as Andreas Deja, who was the lead animator for Scar within The Lion King, has been seen consulting on this project previously on Instagram when they put out a post about this as well. And at this point, I'd love to hear down below in the comment section, what do you think the various scenes will be within the attraction? Do you think they'll include a Be Prepared segment with Scar? Do you think they'll include the Stampede segment with Mufasa's death? Or do you think they'll just gloss over that one and just everyone knows what happened and they'll kind of show it with a digital projection? Who knows? But I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. And to wrap up this whole Lion King segment, I do want to give a quick construction update, as we can see here, thanks to DLP Works, that they've already started the foundation work on the attraction show building, and you can start to see the outline being carved out of the earth there on the expansion pad. And you can also kind of see at the far end that you can see the splashdown zone for the attraction will be as well. So they are very much in the beginning preliminary stages of construction on this project already at the end of this year, and I reckon it will probably open by around 2028, 2029. 2029 is actually the 35th anniversary of the animated version of The Lion King, so they could tie it in with that kind of celebratory, opening for the attraction as well there. And also within this image, there's also a test facility for the drop system backstage at Disneyland Paris for this attraction. They're testing the various, log flume boat ride system, measuring it all out, doing all the preliminary tests for the actual attraction itself. But despite that construction only just beginning, now let's talk about something that is beginning to wrap up on another project around the Adventure Bay area at Walt Disney Studios Park, as we've now had it officially announced at Destination D23 back in August that World of Frozen, the Frozen themed land, is going to be opening in spring of 2026 at Disneyland Paris. And this also means that the Adventure Way, kind of Main Street area from, the main area of Walt Disney Studios Park all the way up to the Adventure Bay Lake area is also going to be opening in spring of 2026, because there's no other way to get to World of Frozen without opening the whole area. So spring 2026 is going to be a very big time for Walt Disney Studios Park, because it's also going to be the time when they do the official name change of Walt Disney Studios Park in Paris to Disney Adventure World. So that's what will be the new name of this park. And we've got new images of the exterior theming and the North Mountain and the attraction show building for World of Frozen and Frozen Ever After as its main centerpiece attraction within that land. It's going to feature 34 animatronics within the attraction. There's an Anna and Elsa meet and greet location within World of Frozen, the Frozen themed land. And there's also going to be a sizable table service restaurant along with various shops around Arendelle as well within World of Frozen. So all of that is going to be opening in spring of 2026. And then also on top of that, because you've got Adventure Way opening as well, you're also going to see Regal View Restaurant and Lounge, which is going to be a princess character dining restaurant, which will be opening with a view onto Adventure Bay. And then you've also got the Rapunzel Tangled Spin attraction, which is also going to be opening. And this is going to be themed after the Lantern Festival and the song I See the Light from Tangled, which should hopefully be a nice little addition to the park to help round out the offerings of different types of attractions. And also a new entrance into Toy Story Playland with Woody and Jessie figures along the way there. And then on the other side of Adventure Way, you've got the English-inspired gazebo garden, and then at a later stage we'll also see a swing ride that's going to be loosely themed to Pixar's Up, that will also be on that corner of Adventure Way leading into Adventure Bay, but that won't be opening next year. It'll take a couple of years before that opens. And so basically, spring next year for Disneyland Paris is going to be a very big time, and I can't wait to see it for myself. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be a real big moment for Walt Disney Studios Park as it begins its next chapter, and then obviously we've got The Lion King as well in the coming years. And so with that being said, it's now over to you, Waltineer. As I would like to know, what do you think about this Lion King themed attraction? What would you like to see within the scenes within the attraction? And also around Adventure Bay, what else do you think would thematically fit as another expansion pad around the Adventure Bay area as well? And of course, be sure to subscribe down below, hit the notification bell, and check out the rest of the videos on this channel. And also, I'd like to say a massive thank you to the official Waltineer Club over on Patreon for always supporting this channel. It's very greatly appreciated. And also a special shout out to the Waltineer Gold members that you can see here on the screen right now, along with Waltineer Diamond members Tim Parsons, JC Russell, Justin Tupper, and Noah Anderson. And with that being said for today, I've been Jack, you've been you, and I'll see you real soon.